Hello there, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the Numismatic Symphony 2020. For this hour, we have collector of 20th century German Empire coins, John Janeczek, speaking on the German Empire coinage of the 20th century. Welcome, John.
Good morning.
For those of you that are attending for the first time, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A button. We will save those for the end of the presentation. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. John, if you want to go ahead and use the share screen feature for your presentation.
Okay, well, good morning. As Matthew said, my name is John Janeczek. I'll be talking about German Empire coinage of the 20th century today. Illustrated on my front page are a couple of coins of the era from my collection. And one thing I'd like to mention as I start here is just imagine the trials and tribulations these coins have gone through to get to our collections today. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the German Empire ended with the end of World War I. So you had the war, which didn't cause a lot of destruction to Germany itself. Still, a lot of men were killed in the war. The war ended in revolutions throughout Germany, which overthrew the monarchies. Obviously, revolutions are often accompanied with looting, violence, burning. Certainly archives were burned, collections were lost. After the revolutions came the hyperinflation, where they said you took your money to the market in a wheelbarrow and brought your purchases home in your purse. So even a 5 pfennig coin there was worth far, far more than 5 pfennig. So if you had a proof coin or a high-grade coin in your collection, you were very likely to spend it, thereby making it virtually valueless. Of course, after the hyperinflation came the Great Depression, again, where money was extremely scarce, followed obviously by the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Certainly, any coin collections owned by Jewish people or any other individuals considered enemies of the state would be confiscated. After that came World War II, where Germany was bombed incessantly by the Allies, invaded by the British and Americans from the west and the Russians from the east. So naturally, destruction, looting. After that war came the rise of communism in the East Germany. So for any of these coins to have survived in a state, a mint state or proof that we would want to have in our collections is pretty close to miraculous, as opposed to, say, the United States, where in 1911, say a Lincoln cent could have been, passed from collector to collector with no problems whatsoever, no risk of destruction. So these coins are rarer than mintage figures would indicate. Right, so I'll go to my second slide. Historical overview of the empire. The German Empire existed from 1871 till 1918. It was considered the second empire of Second Reich, first being the Holy Roman Empire, the Third Reich we won't talk about today. So it was a constitutional monarchy ruled by a Kaiser or emperor. That individual was also, under the Constitution, King of Prussia. The Kaiser, during the time period we're going to discuss, the 20th century, was Wilhelm II, who is pictured on the screen there. He was a very difficult, vain, impulsive man. Certainly one of the major contributors to World War I with his rash and impulsive nature. He was not one to temper his statements at all. He came up with the phrase Hun, which was used as a pejorative against the Germans when he said when the Germans went to fight in China before World War II, for the Boxer Rebellion, they would be considered like the Huns of Attila, who were obviously known for their destructive nature. The empire consisted of 25 states, 4 kingdoms, 6 grand duchies, 5 duchies, 6 before 1876, the Duchy of Saxe-Lauenburg merged into Prussia in 1876 and ceased to be an independent state. 7 principalities, 3 free Hanseatic cities. In addition to the 25 states was the imperial territory of Alsace-Lorraine. Alsace-Lorraine was, well, the French would say stolen from France after the Franco-Prussian War. The Germans would say it was properly reabsorbed by Germany. It was ruled separately by the Kaiser. We now have to understand the Kingdom of Prussia was what we would consider the first among equals. Technically, all the states were equal, and the monarchs remained in general control of their state, but Prussia was by far the largest, most populous, most influential of the states. Really controlled much of life in the other states. But each of the states did retain some degree of autonomy and had their own ruler. And we'll discuss what some of the prerogatives of rulers were very shortly. All right, here is a map of the empire. It was basically all of the German-speaking lands in Europe, with the exception of the German-speaking parts of Austria and Switzerland. It also had minorities, such as in the east, Poland, a lot of Polish-speaking people in the east. In the west, obviously, Alsace-Lorraine, and people there spoke French. And in the north, Schleswig-Holstein, which is close to Denmark, and at one point was part of Denmark, a lot of Danish-speaking people. And as you see, looking at this map, a lot of these areas no longer are part of Germany. Some are part of Russia, some are part of Poland, the Czech Republic, France, obviously, Denmark. So Germany today is much smaller than it was. This would be basically the height of its power. And the blue, which, as again you can see, is most of the map, or at least much of it, is Prussia. Whereas to the south, the very light colored area is Bavaria, which was the second kingdom of the empire, which I'll discuss it a little more. Yeah. Okay, the monetary system. This is what we're here for. Unit of currency was the mark. Mark is equivalent to about 22 US cents at the time. It was divided into 100 pfennig, a word obviously which is very closely related to penny. Before World War I caused some changes. Coins were struck in denominations of 1 and 2 pfennig in copper, 5 and 10 pfennig copper nickel, 25 pfennig nickel, silver 50 pfennig or half mark, 2, 3 mark, 2, 3, and 5 marks, and gold 10 and 20 marks. It should be noted that in 1876, 5 and 6, they did strike a 5-mark gold coin, but that was discontinued. It wasn't very popular. The mints of the empire. This is an interesting topic for discussion. The empire had 6 mints during this time period. That's a lot of mints. For instance, the United Kingdom at the point just had the 1 mint. This is a very large number of mints for a country that had around 55 million people in 1901. The United States, with a population of over 77 million people in 1901, obviously much larger spread out country, only had 4 mints, and in fact, in 1909, they closed the New Orleans Mint, just leaving 3 mints. So why was the purpose of having so many mints? Well, the reason is getting back to the fact that the individual states retained a certain degree of autonomy. They had rulers who were kings, princes, grand dukes, and they had sovereignty in and of themselves. So the states which had mints before the merger of the empire in 1870, they kept them, both as symbols of sovereignty and also as a source of income. So the mints were Berlin, which was the state mint of Prussia with the mint mark A, Munich, which is the Kingdom of Bavaria, D mint mark, Modenhutten, which is the Saxon statement of the mint mark of D. Stuttgart, which was Kingdom of Württemberg, mint mark F. Karlsruhe, which was the mint of the Grand Duchy of Baden. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Karlsruhe, the G, Grand Duchy of Baden, and the Hanseatic city of Hamburg, the mint mark J. And interestingly enough, even so, over 100 years later, 5 of these mints are still in operation. The only one that closed is Moldenhutten, which closed after World War II in 1953. So they're still there, which is fascinating. Okay, sorry, I went a little too far. Okay, the minor coinage. The coins from 1 pfennig to 1 mark were struck in the name of the empire. As you can see, slightly different designs here. Most of the coins had a very simple, basic design. Most people consider the obverse to be the side with the date. Going by that, you can look at the 1 pfennig on the left. It says Deutsches Reich, 1 pfennig, and it has the date. So very simple. Deutsches Reich means German Empire, although, let's see, the term Reich really means realm rather than empire. Technically, the term for empire would be Kaisertum, which means area ruled by an emperor. Reich pretty much just means realm, which is why it's been used in other time periods in German history. The reverse has the imperial eagle, the coat of arms of the country, and the mint mark. If you look to the right, the 1 mark, which is a silver coin, about the size of a U.S. quarter. Again, a similar design. It just introduces the oak leaves around the denomination, the date below. The 1 mark coin has 2 mint marks, one on each side of the eagle. You can just barely see the D mint marks on the 1902 mark. That doesn't really have any great significance. Now, the coin in the middle is interesting. It's 25 pfennig. It was only struck for 4 years, 1909 to 1912, and you can see the design's a little more intricate. The obverse has the wheat sheath on it, although we could say that that side isn't the obverse because it doesn't have the date on it, but we're just going here that the eagle is the reverse. The 25 pfennig has the J mint mark of the Hamburg mint. The reverse has a slightly more stylized, a little more modern imperial eagle, which we will see some on some of the larger silver coins later. Has Deutsches Reich and the date. Now, one interesting thing about this coin is the wheat sheaths. If we think about what other coin introduced in 1909 had wheat sheaths on it, obviously the reverse of the Lincoln cent had those. I don't believe there's any connection between this design and Brenner's design on the Lincoln cent, but I just think it's very interesting that they both have the wheat sheaths on them. Another interesting fact about the 25 pfennig coin is it was very unpopular. And my research really hasn't shown me any good reason why it was so unpopular. It wasn't the exact same size as another coin, which we're familiar with from the Susan B. Anthony dollar being about the same size as a quarter. But apparently it was very unpopular, and when people got them in change, they would take them back to the bank to convert into other coins or currency. It's certainly a topic I want to look into some more. Perhaps if I get to Germany, I can look in some of the archives, those that survived World War II, of course. But again, very unpopular coin, only struck for 4 years. Certainly worthy of further research. Okay, now the larger silver coins, 2, 3, and 5 mark, they were struck in the names of the individual states rather than the empire as a whole. Now that, again, ties back to what I said about the states preserving some degree of sovereignty. So that although the smaller coins were struck in the name of the empire, the larger coins would have the image of the ruler, usually. The regular issue coins. There are some commemoratives that are fascinating, which I'm going to get into in a minute. As you can see on the left coin, you have the Leopold IV, Fürst or Prince zur Lippe, Prince of Lippe, very small state. And on the reverse, what we'll see is the standard design. Deutsches Reich, the date, and below the eagle is the denomination, 3 marks, so 3 marks. So this coin is about, the 2 mark coin is about a little bit smaller than a US half dollar. The 3 mark coin is a little bit bigger. Now on the coin on the right is from the Free Hanseatic city of Bremen. Since the Free Hanseatic cities did not have monarchs, they have the coat of arms of the city on the obverse. And you can see here the key is the primary focus of the Bremen coat of arms, surrounded by lions and crowned above. Key having to do with the commerce that the city was so well known for. Now I'll just digress now for a second about free cities. So there were 3 free cities in the empire, Bremen, Hamburg, and Lübeck. And they were all vestiges of the old Hanseatic League, which dominated commerce in the Baltic Sea back in the Middle Ages. They retained certain privileges, one of which they were not ruled by a monarch. They were ruled by a sort of an oligarchic city council, which was the vestige of the Hanseatic League. The Hanseatic League was run by the rich merchants and ship owners, and so that carried over into the free cities in that they were run by a senate, which was again a very exclusive oligarchy, and they would elect one of their members to be the burgomaster of the town for a period of time. They were considered very free, at least during the Middle Ages, because they weren't ruled by a monarch. They had at least a vague form of representation, although the royal rights of the poor were not really thought about too much. So they retained their autonomy until 1771, when the empire came into play, and so still issued their distinctive coinage. And that's all there. And now, what is most interesting to me in the whole series of German Empire coinage are these commemorative silver coins. It could be thought that the regular issue coins could be kind of boring, just a picture of a monarch or a coat of arms on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. Certainly very nice coins, especially in high grade, or proof very attractive coins, but again, can only look at so many of those before you get a little bored. Now these commemorative coins, a lot of them are really fascinating. So they were struck in the 2, 3, and 5 mark denominations by the individual cities or monarchies. They honored a variety of people and events. Now this one is, we're talking about military history. Obviously the Germans are known for military prowess. This coin is from the Kingdom of Prussia, 1913. And this commemorates King Friedrich Wilhelm III rallying his people to fight against Napoleon and to achieve victory in 1813. The obverse shows the king on horseback, surrounded by just common people, soldiers, civilians, a child. And the inscription at the top says, Der König rief und alle kamen, which means the king called and everybody came hunting, kind of, to fight against Napoleon and to regain the freedom for Prussia. And at the bottom, kind of hard to see, but the inscription there is Mit Gott für König und Vaterland, with God for king and country. So this is representing the rallying of the people, which was kind of radical in those days, because it's the king asking people to do something rather than just ordering them, but it was responded to enthusiastically, and the German army was instrumental in the defeat of Napoleon in 1813 at the Battle of Leipzig, and then causing his overthrow the next year. Now the reverse, again, is very interesting. We have the common inscription, Deutsches Reich, the date, 3 marks, but it shows an eagle representing Prussia, attacking a snake representing either Napoleon or the French, depending on your point of view. So again, a very striking example of an action on a coin. Both sides of the coin show action. The rallying of the people, the attack, bird attacking the snake. Yeah, out of very distinctive coin. Actually, example, this coin was the first German coin I ever bought. I was probably about 12 or 13 years old. So a coin like this is what caused my interest in German imperial. Right. Next, we have more commemorative silver coins. Some of these were struck for important dynastic events. In this case, the death of a monarch and also a significant wedding anniversary. The coin on the left shows it's commemorating the death of King Albert of Saxony, Albert König von Sachsen, and beneath it are his dates of his birth, March 23, 1828, and his death, June 19, 1902. And then the reverse shows, again, the common reverse, the eagle. Now the theme here is continuity of the ruling parties. Even when Albert died, he was succeeded by his brother. So there's continuity of the monarchy. The coin on the right is from the Duchy of Anhalt-Dessau. It shows its 25th wedding anniversary of Duke Friedrich II and his wife Marie. And the inscription, Friedrich II, Marie Herzog und Herzogin von Anhalt, Duke and Duchess of Anhalt, and dates 1889, 1914. So this was struck for their 25th wedding anniversary. Very nice proof. And the reverse, again, is just the common eagle with date, denomination, and Deutsches Reich. Even more commemorative coins. I could really go on and on. This is really just scratching the surface of these coins, which are, again, my favorite among the series. These are both commemorating anniversaries of major universities. The one on the left is from Sachs-Weimar-Eisenach, and it shows this is the 550th anniversary of the University of Jena. And as you can see, it shows the, now rather than showing the ruling monarch at the time, it showed the monarch who was ruling in 1555 when the university was, 1558, I'm sorry, when the university was founded. This is Johann Friedrich. And the inscription shows, it says Johann Friedrich der Großmutzig, which means the magnanimous, Kurfürst von Sachsen. Kurfürst was by the 20th century, obsolete title. It means Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire. He was the Prince of Saxony as well as Elector. Continuing the description, it says Stifter, which is founder, der Universität Jena, of the University of Jena, and also has the motto of the university, Spes mea in Deo, my hope is in God. And this coin is very reminiscent of large silver coins struck in the 17th century, which would often show the ruler in his various regalia, often holding a sword. So it's a deliberate throwback to the coins of the time period when the university was founded. So it's unusual because it shows the previous monarch and not the current monarch. And nowhere on the coin is the current monarch identified or even mentioned. Now the coin to the right is another university. This is the University of Breslau. This is the 100th anniversary. Shows who was the King of Prussia in 1811, Friedrich Wilhelm III, the same man we saw on the obverse of the coin, Napoleonic coin, and also shows Wilhelm II, who was the current King of Prussia as well as Emperor of Germany. Has the dates 1811, 1911, and Universität Breslau, University of Breslau. Now, the reverse to the far right is interesting. It's a little bit different. It also has the eagle and has Deutsches Reich and the date 1911 and denomination three marks, but it's a little different. It has a beaded border between the eagle and the inscriptions, and the eagle is a little more stylized. So I don't know, maybe it's sort of Art Deco kind of look to it. Something different. Now the themes here, like the previous coins, the themes of military pride and dynastic pride and continuity. Here is pride in the education system, saying we've had these impressive universities for 100 years or 550 years. We must be a very powerful and progressive country and very advanced in education. Now, one more page of the commemorative coins is, again, as I said, I could go on pretty much all day on them because, again, just the surface. There are a lot more dynastic coins, more university coins, more military coins, but this will be the last one I show. Not only a very interesting coin, but also among the last of the larger imperial silver coins, because there were in World War I, very much decreased the number of large coins there. This is a coin from 1915, so during World War I. It's a 3-mark from the Kingdom of Prussia, and it commemorates the 100th anniversary of the absorption of the county of Mansfeld into Prussia in 1815, conclusion of the Napoleonic Wars. It shows St. George slaying the dragon, a common motif on coins, obviously can be seen on the reverse of a lot of English coinage. The inscription or motto on the coin is "Bei Gott ist Rat und Tat gegen der Mansfelder Bergbauer." From God comes counsel and law to bless the Mansfield miners. Again, the motto of the area. Now, interesting, you see the St. George killing the dragon motif. The coin on the right is from the county of Mansfeld in 1588. Again, showing very similar. St. George slaying the dragon, a beaded border, and then an inscription. Mansfeld has a lot of significance to the German people, especially Prussian, is where Martin Luther spent his childhood and first attended school. Now, Prussia was the center of the Protestant or Reformed Church or Lutheran Church in Germany. Now, here again, a theme is developing: national unity through religion. Just like in England, in this point in Prussia, the king was the head of the Reformed Church. And also during the war, when obviously national unity was very important. So this is saying Prussia has taken on the area where Martin Luther came from. We have a strong connection with Luther. Let's pull together for this war. And again, even showing the coin from 1588, which has the same motif. So if Prussia was the center of Protestantism in Germany, Bavaria was the center of Catholicism in Germany. There's an interesting story here about the Bavarian succession. And the shield is the coat of arms of the Wittelsbach family, which were the ruling family of Bavaria for hundreds of years. Okay, so the Bavarian succession. King of Bavaria from 1865 to 1886 was Ludwig II of the ancient Wittelsbach family. He's best known for constructing ornate and expensive castles, which were considered foolish at the time. He's colloquially known as Mad King Ludwig. Many of us, I'm sure, have heard of him and seen or even been to some of the very elaborate castles which he built, which were not in any way meant as fortifications. They were very fancy, very impractical, designed as palaces rather than as One of the problems with these castles is that they cost so much money. He was literally bankrupting not only his personal purse, but the Bavarian treasury, and the Bavarian nobility and upper classes began becoming irate over this. So in June 1886, they had doctors declare Ludwig insane. He was placed under confinement. He actually tried to escape, but he was restrained. He was actually confined in a castle where he was found dead the next day, drowned with his doctor. No one knows whether this was accident, suicide, or murder. So in order to rule Bavaria, his uncle, his father's brother, Prince Leopold, was named regent. So now Ludwig's dead. That's what happened. Well, the next in line of succession was Ludwig's brother, Otto, because Ludwig never married or had children. Unfortunately, Otto was also mentally ill. No one's really sure whether it was from the syphilis that he had, or possibly trauma from the Franco-Prussian War he served in, or if it was just the family history of insanity came to fruition. So Otto became king, but only in name. The larger Bavarian coins bore his image, like they did in the other states, but Leopold remained regent and was firmly entrenched in power. And he was actually a very popular ruler, Prince Regent Leopold, very well liked. Bavaria thrived under his rule, although some said he was a bit too chummy with Prussia, be that as it may. So, in fact, Leopold was so popular that in 1911, they struck 2, 3, and 5 mark coins in honor of his 90th birthday. Again, exception to the frequently broken rule about the ruler being on the coins. So this was, a very impressive concession to show Leopold on the coins. Now, Leopold was obviously a very old man by then. He died the next year, 1912. His son, also named Ludwig, became the regent. Okay. Well, Ludwig wasn't content to be regent. He prevailed upon the Bavarian parliament to pass a law saying the king has been unfit to rule for 10 years, no reasonable prospect of recovery, that he would be deposed and succeeded by his heir. Otto had been insane for far more than 10 years at this time, so the law went into effect immediately. As a senior male member of the Wittelsbach family, Ludwig was declared King of Bavaria November 5th, 1913. So the 3 coins at the bottom illustrate this time period. The one on the left, the toning makes it a little hard to read, but it is the image of King Otto surrounded by his title, Otto König von Bayern, Otto King of Bavaria, with the D mint mark of the Munich Mint underneath his bust. Middle coin is one of the 1911 commemoratives for Prince Regent Leopold. The description is Leopold, Prince Regent von Bayern, Prince Regent of Bavaria. Has his birth date 10th March and was born obviously 1821 and his coins from 1911. Also has the D mint mark of Munich. And the coin on the right is from the rule of Ludwig III. Ludwig III, König von Bayern, shows his image. And obviously, since his father was 91 when he died, Ludwig was not a young man either, as can be seen here. He was in his 60s at the time. In fact, his son, also named, was Ruprecht, who was Crown Prince and was a German field marshal in World War I. Okay, so we jump from the silver coinage to the gold coin. The gold coins were struck in denominations of 10 and 20 marks. As I mentioned earlier, 5 mark coins had been struck in 1877 and 1878, but were only struck those 2 years. The 10 mark coin was colloquially called a krone or crown, contained 0.1152 ounce of gold. 20 mark doppelkrown contained 0.2305 ounces of gold. This is just a little bit under a US $2.50 gold piece and $5 gold piece, respectively. Quite similar to the standard issue silver coins, the monarchical coins for the image of the ruler. The coin on the left is from Württemberg. Inscription is Wilhelm II, König von Württemberg. Wilhelm II, King of Württemberg, was not the same person who was Wilhelm II, King of Prussia and German Emperor. Entirely different person, just happened to have the same name and title. The reverse, similar to the silver coins, again shows the imperial eagle. The inscription Deutsches Reich, the date 1905, 20 mark denominator. The one on the right is from one of the free cities. This is from Hamburg. So the inscription Frei und Hansestadt Hamburg, free and Hanseatic city of Hamburg. It shows the coat of arms of Hamburg, which has the gate of the city walls, again surrounded by lions. Beneath the coin is the mint mark J of the Hamburg Mint versus the Deutsches Reich eagle date, and the denomination is instance 10 mark. It should be noted that Hamburg struck coins for the other two Hanseatic cities because they didn't have their own mints. Also struck some coins for Prussia when the Berlin Mint got a little overtaxed. And also struck a lot of the colonial coinage for Germany, which is a very fascinating realm of collecting. German East Africa, Qingdao, German New Guinea, but not something I collect, but is very fascinating arena of coinage in its own way. One more slide of gold coins. The 25th anniversary of Wilhelm II's accession to the German and Prussian thrones was commemorated in 1913 by an alteration to the 2, 3, 5, and 20 mark coins. The image of Wilhelm was changed from a simple profile view, which can be seen on the left on the 20 mark coin, to a uniformed bust. The fact that World War I broke out the next year, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. So the coin on the left is a 20 mark. As I mentioned, it has the J mint mark, showing that it was struck at Hamburg rather than the Berlin Mint. I can only assume the Berlin Mint was a little overtaxed that year, and they foreign introduction out to Hamburg. The coin on the right is from 1913, shows the uniformed bust of Kaiser, surrounded by his titles, Wilhelm II, Deutscher Kaiser, König von Preußen. This brings up an interesting point that I'll address. You notice that he is König von Preußen, King of Prussia, but Deutscher Kaiser, German Emperor, as opposed to Emperor of Germany. It's a subtle distinction, one which I guess means pretty much nothing to us here in 2020, but at the time, 1871, when the empire came into existence, it meant a lot. It again made the Emperor Kaiser more of a first among equals than as a sovereign overlord. It's just again, seems like a minor matter of semantics to us, but it meant a lot to the, especially the other monarchs of the German states at the time. They weren't willing to say that they were his subordinates, but more or less that they deferred to him as the emperor. And these coins have beaded edges. Okay, now we get into World War I. The outbreak of the war in 1914 led to severe shortages. Many of the countries on its borders were now in war with the empire, obviously Belgium, France, Russia, and Great Britain imposed a rigid naval blockade on commodities heading to German ports. So they closed down the North Sea, and German ships could no longer trade with the Americas, Asia, Africa. And in fact, the British placed limitations on commodities going to neutral countries like the Netherlands or Denmark to ensure that they wouldn't go to Denmark and then be shipped to Germany. So it was very, very rigid. blockade, which caused a lot of great hardship in Germany. So shortages of food, raw materials, and finished goods ensued because of the blockade. This led to the necessity for ersatz, or replacement items. In German, ersatz really just means replacement, but over time it's come to mean shabby or inferior, and that's because of this time period. Ersatz coffee would be made from like roasted acorns, for instance. Ersatz bread would have potato peelings in it, even some say sawdust, to flesh out the flour that just wasn't available. So it was a time of great hardship. And also as a result of the war, gold coin production stopped in 1915. Production of silver coins of 1 mark and above essentially ceased in 1916. There were a couple very low mintage commemorative coins, but they're honestly so rare, like the Saxony 1917 3 mark. They struck 100. So for all intents and purposes, production of the larger silver coins stopped in 1916. But he did continue striking the 1 mark. Okay, so there were also caused changes to the coinage. Coin metals such as copper and nickel were diverted to munitions production. In their place, aluminum, iron, and zinc were used for coinage. The coin on the left is a 1917 1 pfennig. It is struck in aluminum. Obviously, it's a very, very light coin. The coin on the right is a 16E 5 pfennig, struck in iron. It's very hard to get these coins in good condition, even proofs, because obviously iron rusts. And so to get one, this example on the right from my collection is the 1916E proof, but very often you find proof coins which are corroded as a result of being made. Okay, the end of the empire. The flag in the corner is the imperial naval ensign flown on the warships. Okay, so as 1918 wore on, the empire's situation was bleak. Though Russia had withdrawn from the war, the entry of the United States in the war caused an influx of men and munitions to the Western Front. So a last-gasp German offensive in March 1918 failed. That was known as the Kaiserschlacht or Kaiser Battle. They threw all their available resources into this battle, especially a lot of the soldiers who had fought on the Russian front. They formed the healthiest, strongest young men into Sturm battalions, stormtroopers. They led the offensive. They took a lot of ground, but they just couldn't break through the Allied lines. So the failure of this offensive and the death of so many of the finest soldiers caused the army's morale to plummet, especially the high command. The two people that were basically ruling Germany at the time, Field Marshal Hindenburg and General Ludendorff, they pretty much were dispirited, more so than the troops, fell into despair, actually. Defensive battles continued into November. The Allied forces were just too strong, especially with the fresh American soldiers. The sailors of the Imperial Navy's capital ships mutinied in November. The admirals had thought about actually making what we considered a death run at the English and American Navy, which was based at Scapa Flow in Scotland. The idea being that rather than surrendering, they would die with honor in a naval battle against overwhelming force. The sailors thought better of that, not wanting to die in vain for lost causes, so they mutinied, threw the officers off the ship, sometimes killing the officers, and the Saudi did not take that. So on November 9th, Kaiser Wilhelm abdicated the German and Prussian thrones. He fled into exile in the Netherlands. Abdication of the other state rulers soon followed. It was a time of revolution and destruction. And at that point, the German Empire was no more. And something sad to recount is that the Allies, especially Great Britain, refused to lift the naval blockade even after the armistice was signed on November 11th, and the winter of 1918 into 1919 was very harsh, and a lot of people died because the British, there was only an armistice, there wasn't a formal peace treaty, so the British were like, we're going to keep putting the screws to Germany to get them to sign a peace treaty favorable to us, and so we're going to keep this blockade in place. Okay. As they say, Germans are known for efficiency and quality workmanship, but nobody's perfect. I have a small collection of error coins from the Imperial Mints. The 1985 Pfennig from Berlin Mint. Quality control was very rigorous, but a few coins errors did make it out of the mints. Well, that's pretty much all I have. I could certainly go on and on, but that's the end of my presentation. I did want to mention a few super rare coins from this time period. For instance, the Hess-Darmstadt 5 mark from 1917. Again, really after large silver coin production, it ended, but before the end of the empire. It was a 25-year reign of Grand Duke Ernst Ludwig, a mintage of 1,333 coins, all struck in proof. A very, very expensive rare coin. 1915 Prussian 20 mark coin, gold coin. Most of them were melted, so very few survive. I mentioned briefly earlier the Saxony 1917 3 mark, 100 proof coins. And some of the smaller states, I really didn't go into detail about some of the smaller states. Waldeck Pyrmont, which I believe in 1901 had a population of about 50,000 people. They only struck coins a few years, basically to emphasize that they could, that they had the right to do so. 1903, they struck a 5 mark silver and a 20 mark gold, both with a mintage of 2,000. There were 300 proof of the silver coin, 150 proof of the gold coin. So altogether, there's less than 5,000 coins between the two denominations. The Württemberg 3 mark, 1916, 25th year of King Wilhelm II, 1,000 coins, all proof. Again, super duper rare. In the minor coins, 1908 half mark only had a mintage of 1,000, super duper rare coin. So I actually don't have any of these super rare coins in my collection. I wish I did. So I'm done, Matthew, if we want to have any questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for the presentation, John.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
Yes. All right. And so, yes, once again, if you want to use your all's Q&A button on your device, you can submit questions our way, and looks like we have about 10 minutes to answer these. Thanks again, John, for the great presentation. I didn't realize sort of the how much like historic significance is hidden in a lot of these coins, whether, you know, it can be hidden in like the little details of like what it's made, or just like the language that's written on them. So learned a whole lot from this presentation. So thank you for that. All right, while we're waiting for some questions to stroll in, with your current collection, are there any coins that you're like either like researching, whether it be like for a collecting purpose or just like?
Well, I would definitely like to learn more about why the 25 Pfennig coin was so unpopular, because it's not an unattractive coin and it's not the same size as a silver coin. So that's definitely something I'd like to learn more about.
Absolutely. All right. Looks like we got a question coming in. Do you know how mintages were set for the different 2, 3, and 5 mark coins?
Not exactly, but the larger states, Prussia, Bavaria, Württemberg, would obviously issue large runs of coins because they had a lot of commerce going on. Also, Hamburg, especially, which was very key commercial city. Some of the smaller states, in fact, I think I have some numbers here in my notes, would have tiny, minuscule mintages. Okay, the coin I showed earlier from 3 mark from the Principality of Lippe, it only struck coins twice in this time period. In 1906, they struck 20,000 2 marks, and in 1913, they struck 15,000 3 marks. That's tiny mintage. But it's a tiny principality. It only had a population of 154,000 people. So they struck enough coins so that each, like 1 out of 3 people or 1 out of 4 people in the principality could even have 1 example of it. So it really was just an example of sovereignty saying, well, we're going to mint these coins because we can, because I'm a prince and I have the right to do it and I'm going to do it. And they didn't even have their own mint. They had to pay the Berlin Mint to strike their coins. So for the smaller states, it was an exercise in sovereignty, and the larger states, it was commerce. And it would fluctuate. There were some lower mintage years, some higher mintage years, similar to what existed in the U.S. Like in 1913, Barbara Porter from Philadelphia, they struck millions, and how many did they strike at San Francisco? 40,000. It's just almost random, but it was powered by commerce.
Oh, nice. Are there any good reference books for this area of collecting?
Short answer, in English, no. Unless you speak at least some German, you kind of out of luck. I mean, there's the Kraus catalog, has some basic stuff in it. There is a book about the larger silver coins. Unfortunately, off the tip of my tongue. I gave this presentation last year to New York Numismatic Club, pretty close to the same. I did all my research at the American Numismatic Society Library, and the books were in German, which I have a very rough knowledge of, enough to decipher some information. But in English, short answer, there aren't really.
Gotcha. Another user says, I have German coin scales of this time period for gold and silver coins. What happened if the coin was lighter than mint weight?
Well, I think those scales were primarily to detect counterfeits, honestly. I don't think they were meant, I mean, the German mints, as you can imagine, had very, very rigorous quality control. Not that an over or underweight coin couldn't make it out, but I'd say it was very rare. I think the weights were for counterfeit detection primarily.
Awesome. Have you noticed differences in die preparation and strike quality from the different mints?
No. Quality control of all of the mints was very high, very rigorous. I haven't really noticed any major differences.
Awesome. Did the gold 5 mark coin remain in circulation after they stopped minting it?
Yes. But they didn't make a lot of them, so it wasn't something you'd find commonly, but they did continue circulating. And there's still, you could buy examples now for relatively cheaply, but mostly because it's such a small coin. It's only about the size of a U.S. gold dollar, really.
Absolutely. Another question asks, are you thinking of writing an English reference book yourself?
Maybe one day. That would be nice. I'm retired, so I do have time. I have access to the ANS library, but really in order to do so, you'd have to get to Germany, which obviously nobody's doing right now. And you have to understand, like my little soliloquy at the beginning about the rarity of the coins, the mints and their records, so many were destroyed in the war. In fact, one of the rarest coins I have written down here, the 1918 F1 Pfennig from the Stuttgart Mint. They were never released. The only way they were found is a relatively few examples were found in the rubble of the burned out Stuttgart Mint in 1945. It was bombed in the war, and these coins had just been stashed in a vault somewhere, and people were digging through the rubble and found them. So even if you find one, you purchase one, it's probably damaged, blackened. So archives are few and far between.
Fair. All right. This next question is a statement. John, thank you for the presentation. It was informative and well done. You had mentioned the importance then, not now, of the distinction of the order of the king's title on the face of the coin, regarding being the first of equals in place of just being the emperor king of all the Germanic states. The first question is, was this also the case for the colonial coins? And the second question is, did you know where this practice came from?
No, at least some of the coins have the colonial coins. I think the New Guinea have the inscription in Latin, and it says Guilhelmus William Imperator. So it just says Emperor William or William Emperor. You have to understand the colonies, like the Navy, Imperial Navy, which I didn't get into, was an imperial concern. So pretty much everything else, like even there was a Prussian army, there was a Bavarian army, there was a Württemberg army. There technically was no German army. However, the Imperial Navy was imperial in and of itself. It actually had Marines, Imperial Marines, and the colonies were ruled by the emperor, by the empire. So they really didn't have the distinction that Wilhelm was the king of Prussia and the emperor. He was just the emperor. And obviously, an empire needs an emperor. And colonies are part of an empire. So he ruled them more or less independently of Prussia. And there was a imperial ministry of the colonies, although a lot of the colonies, like Qingdao, were administered by the Navy.
All right. I believe we have, we can take one last round of questions. But otherwise, John.
Oh, looks like one more.
Here we go.
Or two more.
Awesome. Do you have any contact information or anything you'd like to share for like follow-up questions, or like how could people reach you if they wanted to?
Well, I'd be glad to give my email. It's simply jackcat00@aol.com, and I'll be glad to indulge in any conversation or discourse about this subject. I mean, I collect other coins too, but this is really my passion. This is what
Absolutely. And then lastly, John, does one have to guard against purchasing counterfeits? Do you recommend buying only certified coins?
That's a very good question. I would say it would be just like any other realm of collecting, especially U.S. The rarer, higher grade, more expensive coins is wise to go with slab. Gold, certainly there were counterfeits. Like for instance, I'm doing a date and mint mark set of half marks and marks. The common dates of those I have no problem buying in high grade raw, because no one would have any need to counterfeit them or any interest. The rarer coins, sure, I would definitely buy slab. Or buying from a very reputable dealer. There are some out there, if I'm allowed to name two. Jeff Zarrett and Carl Steffens are both well-known dealers in this in German coins. I think Mr. Zarrett's kind of gotten out of it, but there are reputable dealers that I would buy from, even an expensive coin raw. But generally speaking, for your higher grades and rare coins, slabbing is fine.
Absolutely. So I believe that's all the time we have for questions. Is there any parting words you'd like to say to our attendees, John? Thanks again for the presentation.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everyone, for spending part of your morning with me. And again, you have my email. Please feel free to write. I can point out references. Again, the ANS library in New York, when it opens, is a great source for research. I think you have to be a member to join, to go there, but it's well worth being a member of the ANS. That's all I have to say. Hope everybody has a good symposium.
Yes, we will be starting up our next couple of sessions right now. So hope to see you all there. Thanks again, John, and you all have a good rest of your day.
Yep.